Good morning there, FBA Master Mind Premium Group. We're going to do a few videos this morning about the questions you have to help you guys become better sellers. And the first one we're going to pull out, and I'm going to try to get to as many as I can today, but I'm going to hit Tim Jensen's here. So Tim, this one's for you, and your question is about hot products. How do I fund them? What do you think about them? And I'm going to give you a little bit additional information on those products so that you kind of have an idea of how I function with it. So here we go. So first of all, I'll give you an example. Let's see, when was it? Let's take a look at the chart here. We can kind of see real quick. Let's take a look. If we go to all, back in June, I was purchasing a lot of frozen items. This was before the whole frozen debacle of being restricted and non-restricted, and this has a little bit to do with why I was non-restricted in it, because they saw that I had a lot of sales. So what was happening was during this time frame where the chart, see the peaks, I was even had products into here. I was buying and selling as many frozen dolls as I could. It was a hot product. I was finding that any Walmart I went into or Target, as soon as I could get my hands on the doll, I could actually list them through my mobile device and actually sell them merchant fulfilled before I'd even leave the store. So it was a really interesting topic that you brought up here, because having hot products is a good portion of what I have in inventory. So if you were to take a look at all of my inventory, you would see that about 25% are hot products. I have a good batch of replenishables at about 25%. I've got my longer term stock of high return. It was a liquidation find that I have. Those fill in probably another 20% or so. And then from there, the rest are just kind of random things that I find that are seasonal. So if you want to look a little makeup of what my stuff is, that's what you'd find. So you may wonder, okay, now, Chris, when you go out and find frozen dolls or this or that, how in the world do you have any idea how quick they're going to sell? Because I could walk into a store and say, well, that's going to sell 1,000 units in 3 weeks. And there's actually a tool that I use to kind of help me project how much I could sell so I know how much to buy. So FBA Toolkit, you'll see it here, www.fbatoolkit.com, and you will find that you can use this for some estimation purposes when you're going to a store. So, for instance here, you can paste the ASN and see if it's being tracked there, but what I'm looking at is, say I'm in toys and games, and I want to look at the estimated sales for something with a sales rank of 1,000. So it's gonna go ahead and run me here. It's gonna say yesterday it was about 54 sales for a sales rank 1,000. You see that the average is about 36. Of course, these are going to be higher as you approach the holiday season, but this gives you a really good idea. So, Tim, if you found that hot product and say it was a 5,000 sales rank, but let's let it do the math here real quick. You can see that in the last 30 days, on average, it sold 9 a day. So if you could buy 1,000, you were looking at 1,000 divided by 10. So we're looking at, that's 100 days. So if you can hold out for those 100 days and buy that inventory, most likely you're going to sell out. So if you can put that money into it, sounds like a great idea. So then the question was brought up, and by the way, toys and games, clothing, kitchen and dining, home and kitchen, health and personal, office, home improvement, sports and outdoors, beauty. It has the majority of the categories. I would use this tool religiously. This will actually help you develop your business model. So if you want to do stuff that is fast turn or long term, or you have a product and you want to know how long is it going to take me to fulfill all of this inventory, this tool helps you do it. So just something to keep in mind, but you can project how much you're going to sell. So do take into account the fact that you have some storage costs that will increase if you have it for an extremely long time. Take those stuff into account. But I just want to put that out there to you. This tool is extremely useful and is what I use a lot of times when I'm recommending items to people and saying, I think you're good. A little side story. And let me see if I can find it here. Pink rare bird number 3. And I'm actually out of these, but my brother was selling some items the other day. And this is something I do with some friends. If they're out and about and they find items, they'll actually purchase them for me or from somebody or for themselves, and I'll have them sell it. So I try to help as much as I can. These little live pet cage birds were for $18 at Walmart. And my brother was able to just find, I think he said there's like 60 of them in the store. He was going crazy. So I actually told him, let's see, let me highlight this number right here. He called me up and said, Chris, how many would you buy? I told him without hesitation, buy them all. He's like, I don't think they'll sell. Well, Nick, there's something, you got to trust me on this one. So what I did when I was looking at this is I went into Toys and Games and I put 1620 in, and it's going to tell me I need that comma gone. And I took a look at this and was saying to myself, average sales are going to be 23 a day. If you found 80, we're looking at maybe 5 days to turn your inventory over if we are at the low price. At the low price of $43, I was projecting we were going to make about $20 an item, and I thought, okay, well, I can hold out for 5 days to sell that many. He hesitated, ended up buying about 30 of the 80 that were there, and they hit the warehouse the other day, all sold out. I don't have a single bird left. So it's just an interesting thing that knowledge of the FBA toolkit and using those sales ranks to project sales can actually really help you determine if it's how quick you can turn that inventory, and just something to keep in mind using. So if we look back at Tim's question here, seems like you've been doing it with like 1,000 units, blah, blah, blah. I think that's great that you take off and go to those stores. That is one tip that I highly recommend. Once you find it in one store, odds are it's in other stores as well. So make that kind of, and I can't do it with the way my work schedule is, and I only do big sourcing trips on the weekends. But if you can get that like 2-hour radius and drive around to all of the stores within that area, you actually find a lot of those products. So I also want to talk about how I fund a lot of my purchases. And you're not going to see anything on the screen grab right now. I'll go back to here. Let me go ahead and just pull this up so you guys can see it while I talk if you want to look at it. This will also give you toys that are hot based upon average sales per day. So you could just take a look here. Some interesting information. I have no idea what the kinetic sand is, but that sounds really cool. So anyway, back to how I finance stuff. With everything that I purchase through Amazon, it's all based upon credit. I know a lot of people will tell you need to have cash, pay as you go. I use credit, especially with these fast-moving products. So if I can project a product is going to sell within, say, 45 days of being purchased, all of my stock, I will take that risk on the credit card because at that point, I know that my bill will not be due until the billing cycle ends, and I get 30 days past that. So 45 is a good average. So say I had 1,000 units of an item, and I can project they're going to be sold in about 15 days. I would heavily use credit. Reason because you get rewards on it. You're not limited to how much you have in your bank account. You can actually make money against money that's not yours, essentially. Yes, you still have the responsibility of paying that stuff off. But I've been using credit the entire time I've been purchasing on Amazon, and I've never actually put my own money into inventory. I've always used my credit to kind of round it back, and I end up paying my credit card off, buying more on it, paying it off, and kind of use that as my source of income or my source of investment dollars. So I am a full proponent. If you are able to invest smartly and never pay interest on your credit card, I don't see a reason why not to use that, especially if you have that fast-moving inventory. Now, some of your slower stuff may be one where you want to put your funds that have been earned from Amazon back into it, because that is going to take a lot more time to sell, and you don't want to have that huge balance sitting on there and then not have any funds to support it. So keep that in mind. And then also on that, if you have any cash and you just want to make that real investment on a longer-term option, I would suggest doing that. It's really all personal preference, and I don't want to tell you one way or the other, but my personal preference is using a credit card because I earn my points. I am able to leverage the credit, and I'm able to essentially make money on money that's not mine. So if that makes sense, that's kind of my recommendation there, Tim. So I hope that this has been helpful on kind of how I approach fast moving products. I love them, especially if you can get them moved extremely quick. Even the faster moving ones, if I'm worried about the time difference of sending it in to the FBA, I will occasionally list them merchant fulfilled just to get them in and out and sold almost immediately. That's because I don't want to fight the demand or the supply if it's about to be flooded in the marketplace. I'd rather get out, make some money, take the extra time to ship it, and go from there. I saw that you were doing FBA exclusively, which I highly, highly respect, and I think that's fantastic. But do consider that if you see a huge supply that's coming or that's in there, and you're noticing the price is starting to dip, it may be a good idea to try to knock out some early sales and then hold off on the rest of them until that person sells out. So hope this has been helpful, and I will move on to another video for the group and talk with you guys in a little bit.